Welcome to the Plant Based Podcast. Did you know that plants are truly amazing? Not only can you grow them and eat them, you can also wear them, drink them, nourish your skin with them, and so much more. Let Ellen and Michael inspire you to love plants as much as they do, as they chat with the movers and shakers in this wonderful plant-based world. So, let's dig in.
LAVA-LITE is our sponsor. They're naturally the best. Effortlessly nourish and protect your plants with their collection of totally non-toxic, environmentally friendly, sustainable, pH neutral, lightweight, and 100% natural products. The collection is made up of 8 different horticultural growing and potting media and pest control products, with each continually offering the same natural benefits: thermal protection, moisture retention and control, soil conditioning, and providing a nutrient boost. They're also completely child, pet, and environmentally safe. Look out for them online or in your favorite gardening shop. Hey guys, I'm here today at Morel in the south of France to discover all about cyclamen. I'm with a wonderful guy who is Guy Scherzer. And tell us about your role here at Morel and what you guys do for cyclamen, because this is my second visit now and I absolutely love coming here. It is gorgeous. So tell us all about Morel and yourself, please, Guy.
Well, thank you, Michael. You're very welcome with us. We're glad to have you here. I'm a global sales manager at Morel. I am with the company actually for 35 years. It is a family business and I grew with the family business. So our company is a centennial company. And we have been in cyclamen for as long as I was with the company and many generations before. So it is a crop that is deeply rooted to the heart of the family Morel members. And we're really specialized in breeding this. So if you want to hear something about the history, we started as growing, the grandfather Morel started growing cyclamen as a normal horticulturist. And then it's his son, Charles Morel, who moved to south of France and started breeding with open pollinated varieties. And then came one of his sons, Guy Morel. He started to breed for F1 hybrids. And so this has developed ever since the 80s into a very specialized breeding company for creating new varieties. And so we have both the breeding activity and the seed production activity here in Frisches.
Okay, and just for listeners, let's just jump in and explain an F1 hybrid and why they're important as well.
So the difference when you have natural pollinations, which is called open pollinated, basically it can be the bees that do the pollination and may cross a white cyclamen, bring the pollen of a white cyclamen onto a red cyclamen, and then it creates it will make a seed pod and create a variety, but it's not so much controlled. When you do breeding for F1 hybrid lines, it is very simple. It's the rules of the basic propagation and genetic rules from Mendel. You try to give different characteristic to parent lines. So for instance, if you have a nice red color that has a large flower, but maybe is a little bit small on the foliage, and you have another red that has maybe a smaller flower but makes a bigger foliage, and you would like to combine these two. You can do it in one step, and then you see the results, or you can try to do that on several generations to be sure that the one plant with the large flower, that this large flower characteristic is really dominant. On the same time, on the other line, the one with the bigger foliage, if you're sure that this big foliage characteristic is dominant, then when you do that on 3-4 generations, you have distinctive characteristics. And F1 hybrid is basically you do the marriage. So the breeders at Morel, they are putting lines together, they're creating marriages, and the result of that marriage makes red with a large flower and a large canopy, and making a big volume plant, if that is the target. And you can repeat that depending on the characteristic you're looking at.
That's cool. That's one of the best descriptions of F1 hybrid I ever had. Thank you very much. But of course, the seed from that won't come true, will it? Because you need to do the cross every time in order to create that crop. So it's quite labour intensive. This is part of the reason why it's more expensive seed, isn't it?
It is very labour expensive because all is done by hand. So it requires an organisation here. The breeders decide on which parent lines they will need to cross with which others. And of course we need to have processes in place to be sure that everything is carefully monitored, that the plants are healthy, growing, and try to achieve as many production as possible. But we work with nature, and sometimes nature reserves you quite good surprises.
So let's talk about cyclamen as a whole, because we're standing in the trial ground here. There is so much colour. I've getting a little bit of fragrance from various varieties as well. But let's talk about how people would use cyclamen, which I often call a cool season plant, because they can be grown indoors or outdoors. And I know that you've got an outstanding label on the ones that can be grown outdoors. But just explain to us the life cycle of a cyclamen. When do they naturally come into flower? And indeed, what do they do when they're not in flower? Are they perennials? Tell us how to use them in the garden, please.
Well, there's several species of cyclamen. We work exclusively with the Cyclamen persicum species, which is commonly called the florist cyclamen. So usually the seeds are sown beginning of the year, between January and April. And depending if you are working with long growing varieties, they take 36 to 38 weeks from seed to be in flower. Or some faster varieties like the miniatures, they flower after 22 to 24 weeks. So you have this time frame difference. So this is what the breeding has made this time shorter. Because before the F1 hybrids, most commonly growers would grow plants over 1 year, so like 15 or 16 months. So they would really overwinter them. In summer they get into a dormancy period, and then they flower again the winter after. This has been cut, that growing cycle, by doing the F1 hybrid breeding. It is a house plant because in the past houses were not heated as much as they are, but depending on the countries, it is an outdoor plant. Like in UK, you use a lot of miniatures to put them outside. In Italy, in Spain, in south of France, they use a lot of plants also to put outside, even to do some landscaping. So it is very variable depending on the condition, but it is not a perennial. Cyclamen persicum can eventually stand a cool night frost of -1, -2. If it warms up again in the day, like in climates like we have here on the Mediterranean, but it will not stand a longer night frost. So it is not a perennial. If you want to go into perennials, you need to look for Cyclamen coum, Cyclamen hydrifolium, or this kind of different botanical cyclamens.
But if we have a relatively mild winter, say in the UK, they're likely to come through? Sometimes with a little dusting of snow on top? Eventually. Actually, Cyclamen has a comb, so it's not a bulb, it is a comb. And this comb, I like to say, it is like a memory chip of the plant. So like that?
During the way it is grown, if it has had a hot temperature in summer, it will accumulate some feed reserves, some nutrients in the comb, and put it up back into his vegetation and into the flower when it needs to be reproducible again. So this comb, if you plant the cyclamen in your garden and it is a little bit covered and does not freeze, when you have planted it, let's say in September, it can overwinter in UK, and you will have a beautiful surprise in spring to see all of a sudden a cyclamen flower popping up, which is from your persicum. As an example, in my personal garden, I have a plant that is sitting there for 20 years.
Really?
And we get sometimes...
With a big comb now?
It has, of course, a comb the size of a potato. but I didn't do anything, so it can survive like that.
Well, my grandma used to have some cyclamens, obviously quite old varieties, and in the summer I always remember she'd lay the pots on the side, let them completely dry out, and then bring them back to life, say September, October, I guess.
That is a perfect way to do it. Because they go in that summer dormancy period, and then they are likely to come back again as soon as the nights get cooler again. So nowadays we have, over the last years, we have a September that is warmer and warmer and warmer. So probably if you start watering them again end of September, they will first pop up new leaves, and you'll get new flowers then a couple of weeks later.
Because the main season, I know you guys are just like selling the seed, so you're not selling the plants here, but obviously you've got a network of growers you work with. But when would we see cyclamen generally in the garden centres? From September?
In UK, you have some from July.
Oh, really?
July, August. The peak season being September, of course. And depending on the areas south of Europe, you would see the first ones in September when it starts getting a little bit cooler, and mainly in winter then.
Excellent. And so kind of obviously your focus is on indoor and outdoor, but primarily indoor, and then you test them for outdoor, or what kind of leads the breeding?
Actually, it is more the smaller flowered varieties or the mid-sized flower varieties that show better performances outdoor for two reasons. One, they bring a big flush of flower, which means even if you have one flower that is damaged, maybe because it got a little bit of rain and the flower is not so nice anymore, you can pull it away and you still have a nice bouquet of flowers. But also, they are more resistant, they are more tolerant to the outdoor conditions. So this is what has led to the development of a lot of new breedings in the minis and the mini flowers. And large flowers, they are actually more as a gift plant. Because you can make plants of a bigger volume, and so this is
more likely to be sitting indoors sometimes.
Exactly, indoors. I would think the best position for a cyclamen nowadays is on a balcony, or at the entry of a house, which is usually protected by a porch, because they will have the cool temperatures and a little bit of shelter, and they will thrive for months if they're in that condition.
And of course you've had lots of new varieties coming through over the years, but the one that really got, I think, the attention of a lot of the public in the UK was the Absolute Morel, which is kind of one of the first truly fragrant varieties.
It's actually a breeding breakthrough, and because it is from the flower size, it's a type of flower that we call Victoria, with reference to the queen, because it has a little crown on the top of the flower, and that crown is of the same color as the bottom of the flower, which is what we call the eye of the cyclamen. And so it makes a very nice designed, elegant plant. But the top is that it has a delicate fragrance, a little bit lemonish tones, a little bit lily of the valley tones.
Yes.
And not only this, but it has stunning performances outside. So this one really has it all. So we're glad that it got the attention of the public.
Definitely. And it was an exclusive through Not Cuts, which was great because a lot of garden centres in the UK are now focusing more on new and exclusive varieties, which is great. You know, I'm a boy from the mail order plant world, and so it's nice to see that garden centres are showcasing new breeding, such as yours. But you've got another one coming soon. You've got a double flowered variety, haven't you, that we've seen here this year?
This one is another surprise. It is called Petit Moulin, which means little windmill. Because it has, instead of 5, it has 10 flower petals. So it makes a very full flower. The shape of the plant is different from what we are now used to see with very central flowering. That one is kind of scatters the flower all around the plant, which gives it a little bit of a natural look, a wild look. It comes in a range of tones, with white with eye, light rose with eye. And this one has extraordinary characteristic of holding the flowers for one flower will last minimum 50 days.
Wow.
This is really long. And so while that one flower keeps its good quality, the others are coming. And at the end, you have a plant with a full cover of flowers, which looks like a long-lasting bouquet, basically.
It's beautiful. Why are the flowers being produced in a different formation? Because indeed they're not all in the centre. And now you've said it, I can see this with the variety.
This is the work of the breeders. In the past with OP, the flowers were a little bit scattered around the canopy, and the breeders decided that it may look nicer to have the bouquet very much centered. So they did select the parent lines that had this characteristic. But we had exchanges with visitors who said, well, sometimes they find this looking a little bit industrial. And they were kind of focusing themselves on plants that didn't have that habit. And so the breeders got that into their breeding program and said, maybe we have something to do. And then they found this specific double flower, which had a totally different look, and which indeed was looking very nice. So there's always a difference between what you think is perfect when you are into a professional production and what is very lovely, very delicate when you want to have it at home.
Very nice. Wow. Sorry, guys, you'll have to excuse the slight natural greenhouse noises, but we are in a trial greenhouse. So just origami.
Yes.
That is a very interesting variety. Talk to us about that one, because much smaller flower, it almost looks like a rockery type.
It definitely is.
It's a real novelty.
It is a novelty. It is a different breed from the Victoria types, so having the crown and having the eye of the flower. But it is really dwarfened. So the flower almost looks like it has been folded like origami paper. And indeed, this is an old bulletproof plant for outside, because it will never get botrytis. It will stand. So like a rockery plant, it's a good description. Definitely.
Well, I planted it into a very low container on a patio table outside with some miniature hebes, some caliciophyllus, kind of dinky little leaved plants. And I imagine they like that one in Japan. Am I right? Yeah.
They do, because they have a very delicate taste for combining plants and making very original. Each country is very different in that respect.
Yeah, talk to us about that, because it is very remarkable, like different ones that sell in Northern Europe to Southern Europe, colours and shapes, isn't it?
Colours and shapes are different. I was thinking in UK, people pay a nice attention also to the different leaf forms, leaf colours. More north, maybe more some of the pastel tones. And when you go more south, the colours need to be really strong and intensive. And this is what we are breeding for as well, because with high light conditions like we have here on the Mediterranean, if the color is a little bit pale or a little bit dull, if it's not solid, you will see that, and then they will get thrown out of the breeding process. But yet the tastes are very different. And we are fortunate to have a large range to offer so that everybody can find its liking.
Well, what I found really interesting when I visited the poinsettia trials in Holland last year, they were putting some under the bench in order to see the colour in lower light.
Yeah.
Because some of these cyclamen would obviously be in a house where the colour might appear different. So maybe you have to select brighter for those.
That is
to accommodate.
Yeah, that is true. Depending on the place where the plants are positioned in the house, the color effect will be different. So this is
okay. And just a last kind of point on your breeding, like obviously all the time you're looking to improve, get better plants, better foliage, kind of more compact foliage, because of course there's so many things you have to consider: timing, production, transport, flowering, a lot of stuff that is considered even before you can have something unique for the consumer, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All these parameters go all along the chain. It starts with the germination, because we sell the seeds, so we want to have the highest potential of germination for the companies that do professionally sow the cyclamen to make young plants. But then it goes for the uniformity, for them to transplant, for the growers to grow, be able to market in batch-wise the most uniform possible. of course, resistance to like fungi, to climate conditions, that the plants grow normally and make the most uniform flowered plants. And then it continues with a change. So for this, we are also processing to some shelf life tests. We do that in Holland, where they test for transport simulation, they test for store simulation, and then for shelf life at the consumer. So these are new parameters that are included in the breeding program. But I think this is very nice, because we want to be sure that our little babies please wherever they are.
But
in the
makes
world.
it a tough job and a long job as well.
Yeah,
it takes many years to create a new variety, doesn't it?
It takes about 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So we are very patient, but it takes a lot of passion to do that. And this is the great fun about our job.
I love the push and pull. We were at dinner last night with your breeder, Celine, and she's very slow. You're very quick because you want to sell it, and somewhere you meet in the middle, which is great.
Exactly. And we work with nature. So
yeah, of course.
I like to say our job is all about love, because you love the beauty, but you love the mystery of nature, because of course, there is a lot of science behind it, but there's also always a little point of interrogation where you're not sure. Will it work out or will it not? So when Celine shows us the first hybrid, it's always kind of magic, because you see, oh wow, this is a succeeded cross versus. So we also need to know how to throw away, because a lot of tests are not positive, and then you forget them and you continue. This is about cyclamen breeding.
And what would be really like the holy grail? What is the cyclamen that everybody wants to create? There could be a few.
I think there's so many. I think there's so many, and it is limitless because cyclamen is a plant that has a lot of mutations, so the perspectives are pretty much infinite. But
it depends on whether you can fix those mutations and get them
so
good from seed as well.
Exactly.
Okay. Final question then. 2 cool season plants that we know very well: cyclamen, and pansies.
Yes.
Which one would win in a boxing match?
Oh, that's a fairly boxing match. If we look on seed size, probably cyclamen would win.
Yeah.
If we look at number of plants,
but in strength, endurance.
They are both fantastic. And actually, I would say it's a draw on that one, because make a combination with mini cyclamen and pansies, it makes a fantastic colored bowl in front of your house. So no match here. I think it's only compliment.
I think that's a very good political answer, and one that I agree with as well. Recently, I planted up cyclamen with Princettia, and they look beautiful, the colours, and so really, I think people should get into cool season planting a lot more, because too many people just let the begonias fade all the way through October, November. There's a yellow mushy mess. They don't replant, but get rid of the begonias, put the cyclamen.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Hey guys, I'm in bed. I'm going to give you a little kind of gossip, but split into 3 separate days, because I'm actually on an in residency where I'm part of the Eat This program in Holland, and they're taking me around lots of different growers to learn lots of different things, and it's really, really interesting. So I'm going to tell you about day 1, actually, because day 1 was absolutely fantastic, and we went to Tallaght, which is an orchid grower, so I was able to ask lots of different questions about the marketplace, kind of how that's changed over the years, how IKEA and the outlets almost changed the market and ruined it many years ago. So that was great. I will be writing all of this up on my Substack as well, so it's really, really so much information, learned so much, and can't wait to share it with you guys. Also went to the Westland Museum. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Westland area is the main horticultural area in Holland. So that was a nice insight. We talked about culture, the history, kind of what's in the Dutch character that made them kind of entrepreneurial, like they are as well. We also went to a wasabi grower, which was really, really fantastic. And we had this big knowledge exchange over about half an hour. I think everyone else in the room thought we were a bit crazy. And where else? We went to Tomato World, learning about how tomatoes are grown, kind of new substrates, different feed, how they can be grown with less water around the world as well. So lots of great awareness. It's been really, really fantastic. So I really wanted to give you a tiny little soundbite diary each day. So I'm sorry this one's a bit croaky, but I only woke up about half an hour ago, and it doesn't get light until about 8:30 in Holland as well, which is like really hard work for the people. I don't know how they get through that. But anyway, so I need to have breakfast with my hosts shortly. They made me some croquette last night, which is one of my favourite Dutch kind of junk foods. So that was a real honour as well. I hope you guys are doing well. I just wanted to mention the Garden Media Awards last week. I was so happy with a lot of the prize giving there actually, and in particular, Bob Askew, great guy who's kind of like an industry guy, but it's amazing for that recognition to be in the Garden Media Guild as well. So he won for some of the articles that he's been doing in Horticulture Week, which I thought was really, really good news. And Ellen and I are going to try and get him on the gossip sometime as well. So anyway, I better get up, even though it's pitch black, and see what I've got for breakfast. I hope some lovely Dutch cheese. See you later, guys. Hey guys, I feel a bit more awake than when I recorded the first voice note. Just telling you about the In Residency week with the Eat This program. I can tell you about day 2, actually. It started with a lot of cheese and meat, as many days do here in Holland. But I'm not complaining. But it's still dark at about 8:30 in the morning, so it takes a bit to get me going. So I had 4 coffees before, maybe before 9, but regardless. Anyway, today, first of all, we went to Ameland, and we were learning about geothermal energy. This is when they take the heat out of the ground in order to heat the houseplant nurseries. Very, very interesting, incredibly technical. Oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine ever having that technical mind to do that sort of stuff, but really, really impressive. Can't wait to write this one up for you guys so you can all understand it. Remember, everything is going to be written up on my Substack in due course, so keep a watch out for that. Next up, where were we? I was probably on my 6th coffee by then. We went to, oh gosh, it's amazing. I've got a notepad full of notes. It's just such a wonderful trip. So much learning, so much opportunity to ask questions, kind of really understand how the industry works and how all these different parts play a part in that as well. So we went to Koppert next, which was the very first biocontrol company. So they actually sell products that are predators that then will chew up your aphids, midges, whitefly, all of that jazz. But they're also getting into plant kind of products that will strengthen your plants, natural strengthening. So that means your plants will be stronger, and they might not even need those predators as well. But really, really interesting. We saw some bees that they were breeding as well, some bumblebees, because they then supply those to tomato nurseries, etc., to then get more of the flowers pollinated, so more fruit. Really, really fascinating world. And we had a lovely lunch as well. I discovered this morning that the way I eat bread, cheese and meat is quite unusual. I tend to break little pieces off and make tiny sandwiches within a bigger sandwich. But yeah, it was pointed out to me this morning that might be a little bit unusual. But anyway, I still ate my lunch like that, don't worry. Afternoon, first of all, we went to Antura, which is an Anthurium breeder, which was really interesting. They're also getting into lovely, lovely Phalaenopsis as well, the lovely moth orchid. That was pretty fun. I asked loads of questions. It's really, really cool opportunity for me because I love to learn and delve in, and I understand a little bit of the kind of breeding aims. I don't necessarily understand how breeding works, but a few of the aims that they're looking for across these companies. And then finally went to Porto Nova, which is a rose production company, and I'd never been to one before. It was really, really incredible, I have to say. The roses were grown in rock wool under LEDs. There were these robot trains that went around spraying them with UV light to get rid of mildew as well. Really amazing, honestly. Can't wait to write that one up as well. I got so much content this week, it's crazy. My hosts are cooking a barbecue for tonight, and they've also been out to get me some filet American, which is like a steak tartare that is almost pureed, and it's one of my favourite Dutch foods. So I better go. I think the barbecue's almost ready. I did ask if there would be fireworks, but anyway, I'll report back tomorrow with even more news. Hey guys, just recording my final little installment just to update you on where I've been this week. I had to wait because I'm at the train station and that happened. But I need to get this episode across to my editor, so I need to just give you a little update. But don't worry, I will be doing more and more podcasts about all the stuff that I've found this week in the Eat This program. But I just really wanted to kind of let you know my thoughts while they were hot. So last day, we had to start early. So breakfast at 7 a.m. and in Holland it doesn't get light until 8:30. So that is quite a difficult start, but I can do it. I can always get up when there's a good reason. So no worries there. Had a lovely little funny meat cheese breakfast. Eating it with my hands, breaking the pieces up as I always do. That Peter and Esther were laughing at me for that, but it's just the way I eat things. And so the first trip was to... Oh, sorry, this train keeps farting. I'm so sorry. So the first trip that day was down in Monster, which is in the heart of the Westland, and we started off... Oh gosh, where did we start off? I might need to look at my pictures. Oh, hold on guys, honestly. It'll be much more authentic if I'm looking at the pictures at the same time. So... yes, we started off at a pick your own garden where they were growing strawberries, raspberries, all sorts of different fruit, and they really changed their business model from being a general wholesale fruit and veg nursery because they wanted to connect with the public and make more money, because you obviously can that way. It was really rustic and very different to the other companies, but no less valuable as well. Really, really interesting, lovely varieties too, and good coffee to start the day. Then we went to Koppert Crest, the Division Q area of the company, where they're helping with lots of startup companies who are looking at lots of different innovations, technology. So there were drones that zap insects and moths in the nighttime. There was a really cool double-walled greenhouse that has foam in the middle to help insulate and heat and cool as well. Really interesting. While I was at Koppert, I also saw my friends Stein and Rose, and they took me to the underwater vegetable area as well, which was really interesting. And I put up a reel with the lovely Moe caviar, which is so unique. It was such a privilege to get behind the scenes. Then we had lunch, and I lost my notebook for a full 20 minutes, which was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I'm really glad I found that. So thank you to everyone. Next, we were at Lugt Lysianthus, one of the most exotic cut flower nurseries I've been in. Well, I haven't actually been in many cut flower nurseries till this week, so it was really, really interesting. And they had all sorts of conveyor belts and machines, and the flowers came from underground, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was so techie and brilliant, but very hot because it needs to be about 28 degrees. So I wish I hadn't worn thermals that day. So that was cool. Next up, we went to, the final trip was Amaryllis. So cut flower Amaryllis, and the Flower Council met me there as well, and we did some lovely filming. So that was really cool, and they put together some little snacks and wine afterwards because it was obviously the end of my wonderful trip. So, sorry, let's just let that train go. Don't need any more trains farting or getting wind in my presence. So that was the end of a really, really intense and wonderful 3 days, which were all designed to see how we can link horticulture to society. And I had a lot of different thoughts during that week, many of which I'll put on paper on my Substack over the next few months. But I think really it was about the fact that we don't show society, a lot of you guys, the public, a lot of the things behind the scenes in horticulture, because we kind of, I don't know, we forget to, because, you know, for me to see machinery in nurseries is really not that unique, but to the home gardener, this is really unique. And so I think I need to make a pledge to show more behind the scenes, to explain more behind the scenes, because of course horticulture needs to have a commercial side to it. We can't be growing little plants in sheds all the time, so we kind of really have to develop and recognize it as a serious business as well, and one that should be more recognized as a career choice and also recognized by the government as well. So I'm going to do what I can to get as many eyes on that as possible. Wouldn't it be the dream one day to lead my own tour out there? So that's in my mind anyway. So that is a bit of a thought dump of all the things that I saw during my week with Eat This, and it was a real privilege to be a guest of that. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this little kind of update, and I'll be making a lot more content over the next few weeks, few months as well, because I've got content for a long time from that excellent trip as well. So big thanks to Renee and Ed who put this trip together. Thank you to Peter and his wife Esther who accommodated me as well and cooked me some wonderful food and made sure I had all the Dutch delicacies that I absolutely love. So I'll see you guys next week with my old melon, aka Ellen. Bye-bye. LAVA-LITE is our sponsor. They're naturally the best. Effortlessly nourish and protect your plants with their collection of totally non-toxic, environmentally friendly, sustainable, pH neutral, lightweight, and 100% natural products. The collection is made up of 8 different horticultural growing and potting media and pest control products, with each continually offering the same natural benefits: thermal protection, moisture retention and control, soil conditioning, and providing a nutrient boost. They're also completely child, pet, and environmentally safe. Look out for them online or in your favourite gardening shop. The music for the Plant Based Podcast is part of the song Grow by Mikey James, and our editor is Gareth Patch of Semi Echo.